online.
Yeah.
The meeting's live.
Thank you very much indeed. Welcome to this virtual Cabinet panel on community engagement and cooperative development that's being conducted with members and officers at various locations, mostly I suspect their own homes, which is quite a good place to be on a hot June evening. We're communicating via audio, video and online. There's also the opportunity for the public and press to listen to and view proceedings on our YouTube channel. We also have representatives. In fact, most of what tonight's about is our representatives of arts and culture groups across North Hart who are with us to join in our discussion and in fact to make our discussion this evening. Before the meeting starts, I'd like to invite the committee member and scrutiny officer to explain how proceedings will work and to take the roll call to confirm that councillors, officers and members of the public are in attendance and can hear and be heard. So Anna, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good evening, everybody. I'll firstly undertake the roll call. When I call your name, please could you indicate your attendance to confirm that the required members and officers are present and that everyone can hear and be heard. Bear with me, it's rather a lengthy one today. Councillor Judy Billing.
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Sam Collins.
Hello.
Councillor Daniel Allen.
Hello.
Councillor Ruth Brown.
Present.
Councillor Sarah Dingley.
Here, miss.
Councillor Jean Green. Not currently here. Councillor Tony Hunter. I can see you, Councillor Hunter. Are you able to just test your microphone, please? Oh, I can come back to you in a minute if it's easier. Councillor Mandy Tandy. Not present. And Councillor Kay Tart. Not here. I think Councillor Ian Albert is here as a substitute potentially.
Yes, I was going to sub for Councillor Kay Tart.
Thank you. And Councillor Joanne Cowell.
Oh, hello.
Hello, thank you. Officers, Claire Morgan.
Good evening.
Hello. Hilary Deneen.
Speaking, thank you.
Thank you. Danny Pearson.
Good evening.
Thank you. And Lewis Franklin's doing IT for us, and I'm Anna Gavea. Members of the public, representatives of arts and culture groups. Peter Morgan from Royston Arts Society.
No, that's me. I'm chairman of Royston.
Is that Richard Clayton? Thank you. Carl Philby.
Yes, I'm here.
Stuart Sapsford.
Yes, I'm here.
Simon Effard.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Christina Armstrong.
Hiya.
Thank you. Angie Archer.
Hi,
Okay.
yes.
Hi, Angie. Jim McNally.
Yes, I'm here.
Alison Gentle.
Yes, I'm here.
James Willis.
Yes, here.
Peter Hewitt.
Hello.
Hello. Glyn Doggett.
Hello.
Hello. Hilary Robertson.
Hi.
Kieran Jones.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Adam Tyler.
Hello.
Hello. Rory Reynolds.
Yes, I'm here.
And Sasha Gustard Brown.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. I think I probably missed a couple of people. If anyone could let me know if I've missed you, I will make.
Yeah, Anna, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Hoskins. I should have had you on the list.
All right.
And I'm here. I'm Sarah Cole.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm here. I'm Val Lawson.
Thank you.
And me as well, Lee Simmons.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Hello.
Is there anyone else I've missed out? No, thank you. Please note that this meeting is being streamed live onto YouTube and recorded via Zoom. Extracts from the remote and partly remote meetings protocol are included with the agenda, and the full version is available on the Council's website, which includes information regarding live streaming, noise interference, rules of debate and voting. Members are requested to ensure they are familiar with the protocol. Are there any questions before we start the meeting? No, if not, I'll hand over to the Chair, Councillor Judy Billing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Anna. And what I'm going to do is go through the very short but very tedious bit of council business that we have to do about minutes of last meetings and stuff like that, because actually we're all here tonight to hear from the purveyors of arts to our communities, how the last year and a bit has been for them, what's been learned and what you're doing to come alive again in the very near future. So I have to do these few things. One is to ask for apologies for absence. Have we any apologies for absence? No. Okay. And then we have to take minutes of 2 meetings of this panel on the 21st of October and the 9th of November. Are there any amendments anybody who was present at those meetings wants to bring to any of those minutes? Because if not, I'd like to propose that we take as read and approve as a true record the minutes of the meetings of the Cabinet panel held on those dates. So I'm proposing that. Can I have a seconder from amongst the councillor cohort, preferably somebody who was actually at those meetings? Go on, Keith. Thank you. Not I'm being bossy or anything, but thank you very much indeed. So we need to take a quick vote on those minutes. Can we do that by show of hands, Anna?
Yes, I think so. If no one has any amendments or objections, I think we can take them as
I really don't think
approved.
Okay, so those
Councillor Brown has raised her hand. Councillor Brown has raised her hand.
Sorry, I was voting in favour of the minutes.
Hooray!
Oh, sorry.
All right, so everyone who was there, let's vote in favour of the minutes. Is that carried? Yes, I think it is.
That's
All
carried.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I authorise, this is the other bit of business, I authorise the committee member and scrutiny officer to apply my electronic signature, which is a thing of beauty, and initials to the approved minutes. And then I have to move on to Chair's announcements. This meeting is about community engagement with a focus on the arts. I guess you knew that. The meeting will take the form of a discussion on how arts providers and their audiences plan to recover from the pandemic and how to thrive in the new world. And I absolutely welcome everybody who's taken the trouble to come and participate this evening. It is actually quite a hot night. Well, it certainly is in my bit of Hitchin. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to have some sharp and purposeful discussion and maybe have you away to your glasses of beer or wine or whatever by about 9 o'clock rather than going on all evening, because we really are grateful to you. And in accordance with council policy, this meeting's being audio recorded as well as filmed. And the audio recordings will be available on ModGov and the film recording via the NHDC YouTube channel. Members are reminded, that's councillor members, are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item if you've got a specific interest to declare, and the detailed reminder about that and speaking rights is set out under Chair's announcements on the agenda. Notification of other business, I've had none. And so we now move to the proper business of this meeting, which is to welcome all of you again. And I'm going to go round the room as I see it on my particular 27-inch iMac in downtown Hitchin, and ask you to just say very briefly to start with where you're from and what's brought you here this evening, and then we'll very quickly get on to some proper discussion. So I'm going to go round my screen and that starts with Sarah Core.
Hello there. Hi, I'm the coordinator for Digswell Arts Trust. I'm relatively new to the post in that I began the post sort of in March last year, then left rather dramatically due to COVID, and then I came back again mid-August. So there was a period of downtime, but essentially Digswell Arts Trust has lots of legs in terms of history. It's been around for a long time, and they provide hundreds of hours, or have provided hundreds of hours of art education, open studios, and they essentially focus on providing artist studios for to support emerging artists. And I currently have 2 sites, one at the Fenners in Letchworth and one at the Forge in Welling. So that's why I'm here. I was invited by email, so thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for coming. Kieran Jones, I've got you next. You're muted, Kieran.
Again, that's better. Yes, Kieran Jones, representing Hitchin Folk Club, music source in Hitchin for 56, 57 years, something like that. And most of that time at the Sun Hotel, and recently, at least it seems recently, moved to our new venue in Hitchin Cricket Club, where we managed to get 3 concerts before we got shut down.
Okay, thanks very much. And that must be how you know Ian Albert as well.
That's
I've worked
exactly
that one
how I
out
know
now.
Ian Albert.
Okay, James Willis next.
Hello, everyone. James Willis, Hitchin artist, work independent, really. I'm an exhibiting artist as well as a leader of arts education and tutored groups, which I run locally at the moment on Zooms, which has been very successful. I'm an author as well and a contributor to the Hitchin Festival and various other arts groups in the town, and currently working on a big exhibition for next year in Hitchin with my friend and next door neighbour, Carl Lorbin, the architectural painter. So that's something that's coming up. Okay.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Next visitor I have on my screen is Sasha. Sasha, introduce yourself, will you?
Hi, hello everyone. Yeah, I'm Sasha. I'm the supporter engagement officer at Hitchin Town Football Club. So it's a new role, volunteer role that I picked up just a few months ago. But I do have a background in football and specifically supporter engagement and community engagement in football. So I'm assisting the club with improving and developing both supporter and community engagement.
Brilliant. Thanks very much indeed. I've then got Val Lawson.
Hi, I'm Val Lawson. I'm an artist. I live just on the borders of North Herts in Fairfield, but I'm here representing Herts Visual Arts, who have been going for 30 years plus. During lockdown, we managed to switch to I can't talk to anybody. We managed to switch from live events to virtual events, and we're just in the throes of reopening our doors, as it were, with exhibitions and open studios, which will be available to people to actually go into rather than just watching on a screen. And I'm looking forward to taking part in that. But we have seen a drop in our membership because of the lack of live events available. One of the things that people join Herts Visual Arts for is to take part in events, and we're hoping that this is going to reverse as we move forward this year. We've already seen a flurry of people joining as they realise that we're going to be open to the public.
Okay, thanks very much, Val. Hilary Robertson.
Hello, I'm a local musician, writer, a teacher at the boys' school part-time. I volunteer at Benslow, which is how I know Peter. I'm just involved in lots of stuff, and I'm just interested in how, as a member of the public, I can just help out to really get things going again after, you know, after the stuff that we've been through.
The stuff, indeed.
Yes.
Thanks very much, Hilary. Glyn, what stuff's with you?
Oh, loads of stuff. Loads of things. So I'm an actor, producer, live in Hitchin, have done all my life. But I'm representing tonight. I'm representing the Market Theatre in Sun Street, which I helped to run, and mostly comedy, or the Comedy Club, which will hopefully start again in July, fingers crossed. And also Hitchin Festival, which I'm one of the directors of Hitchin Festival. So we're getting that up and running at the moment. And the Dell, which is a new venture, a new part of the whole Hitchin Festival thing this year, which is kind of welcomed, I think, with the outdoor venue setting. Yeah, lots of things there.
Okay, thanks very much. Alison Gentle.
Hello there, good evening. I'm Alison Gentle. I'm representing Baldock Arts and Heritage Centre. In 2013, a group of us, like-minded people, took over the old town hall in Baldock, and we, after a little while, rebadged ourselves as an Arts and Heritage Centre. And as we've sort of got into this, we showcase local artists, we support open studios, we support all the local festivals in the town, and anything that we can get involved in, we do. Obviously, it's been a very trying year for us all. We're trying now to get back into things. This weekend, we opened our latest local artist and exhibits, which will go on until open studios. And yeah, from our point of view, it's volunteers that we lack, just to try and keep us open and going. But it'd be really interesting how others cope with that kind of situation.
Brilliant, thanks very much, Alison. I've got Christina next, Christina Armstrong.
Hello, hi. I'm an artist and alumni of Digswell Arts Trust as well, based in Letchworth. But I'm here representing Open Art Box. I'm co-director with Angie Archer, who's also here. Open Art Box was set up to run projects for people living with dementia and their carers. And throughout the pandemic, we went from running face-to-face group sessions, which is kind of what we were expecting to do. We only set up in 2019. So 2020 was our first year. So we were expecting to do lots of group sessions and have lots of lovely face-to-face sociable art groups. And actually, obviously, that couldn't happen. So we set up an art box delivery service, delivering home workshops to people across North Herts and Stevenage. And we've been doing that and we're still doing it now. With the kind support of North Herts District Council funding, we're doing a project in Letchworth until the end of June, and then hopefully, well, we've booked now face-to-face sessions to start in Letchworth at Mrs. Howe Memorial Hall from the end of June. But a lot of our participants are also quite interested in the home art workshops format continuing alongside it. So kind of as an outcome of looking for an alternative, we have kind of discovered that actually there is a benefit to bringing art to people that are unable to get to groups and things. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Christina. And to my absolute horror, everybody has just moved on my screen. So I have no idea anymore. But I do know that Simon Effort has gone up the screen to a place where everybody else has already spoken. So I better go to Simon before I get completely lost with this.
Evening, yeah, I'm Simon Efford. I'm the chairman of Letchworth Garden City Eagles. We've got around 600 registered football players across about 45 to 50 different teams, mix of men's, seniors, ladies, youth, boys and girls. I'm blessed with about 80 volunteers, so we're very lucky, and we offer obviously sport for the local community. So I was invited by Danny to come along and listen in tonight. So thanks very much for inviting us.
Thanks very much. You meant, I think there was a comma between seniors and ladies, wasn't there? It wasn't just senior ladies.
Seniors,
Okay,
men
I
and
was,
ladies.
my ears were suddenly burning rather a lot. So next I've got on my screen that's all moved about Rory. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Rory Reynolds. I'm the artistic director of the Queen Mother Theatre, which has been open for about 38 years. Stunning to think that, but 38 years. I think you were there at the beginning, Judy, weren't you? We tried to put on a play. I mean, it's been terrible during lockdown, really, but we've had a lot of support from the council, and we thank you greatly for that. We put on a play on the first week we opened. So the first week we could have the public in, we did have the public in, and those were some youth theatre plays. And we've got a full programme of plays taking us up to December, including a Christmas show, fairly large Christmas show, and having some input into the festival, small input into the festival. They've recently started a new project which we link with local schools, because lots of the schools now are offering theatre technicians courses. We've approached those schools to see if they want to come in and do some work in the theatre, so that they're working in a real live functioning theatre. So we think that's quite a nice little project to get going.
Thank you. And then I've got Peter Hewitt.
Hi everyone, Peter Hewitt, Benslow Music. We've been operating for 90 years or so, but not a lot in the last year, though we're back up and running now, and we run short residential courses for amateur musicians from all over the UK and well beyond. Alongside which is we have a concert series or a couple of concert series with, for example, at least 16 in the next couple of months, including the Hitchin Festival. We were hit just as badly as, well, in fact, our income just ceased. And we've only kept alive through the good wishes of our members and participants and others. We're not going to break even, I think, until the autumn, but we should survive until then as a consequence of that. So there are a lot of challenges ahead from a business point of view, but musically, culturally, there's a lot going on already, and we'll build that through. During the summer, last summer, we had outdoor concerts. We were able to have courses during last autumn, but then we had to shut down again. So yeah, we're here and with you guys, and wanting to, very willing to collaborate and participate as before. There you go.
Thank you very much, Peter. I've got Adam Tyler.
Hello, yes, my name's Adam. I'm born and bred in Hitchin. I'm a writer, director and host at Hollowdale Media. We're an independent filmmaking and podcast production company. We made our first professional short horror movie, went to release it, and then lockdown happened and it all went wrong. So we're a little bit behind schedule now, but are looking to network with people, connect with people, and see if there's a way we can sort of build something together and advance, really. So yeah.
Thanks very much indeed. And then I've got Richard Clayton.
Hi, Richard Clayton. I'm chairman of Royston Arts Society. We've been going 43 years and we've got 90 members. During normal times, we offer people 2 painting sessions a month, around 9 professional art demos a year, and a couple of exhibitions. As obviously most of that has been in hibernation. We did teach ourselves how to create and run an online exhibition, and we've had 3 of those during lockdown, one in spring 2020, autumn 2020, and one that is still going on as we speak. roystonarts.org.uk. Go there, go to the homepage, click on the exhibition poster, and you'll see some wonderful paintings.
Brilliant.
We've been in hibernation. We don't really have any financial problems because we've got no paid staff. So if we're not renting rooms and we're not paying artists for demos, we don't actually spend anything.
Okay.
Excuse me. So we were in March, we were able to roll everybody's membership forward to another year without them having to pay anything. So our membership is, in fact, has increased. We gained a few members because of our online exhibitions. We are, in fact, slowly opening up. We've had two very cautious, masked up, socially distant painting sessions. And we are due to have our first socially distant demo this Friday. So we're gradually creeping back into normality.
Yeah, everybody seems to be creeping back. Thank you very much indeed, Richard, and you're very, very welcome. Carl Philby.
Hello. Yeah, I'm the chair of Creative Royston, and that's a not-for-profit organisation run entirely by unpaid volunteers. Our main remit is to stage Royston Arts Festival each year, and it's usually the last, well, in fact, it's always the last weekend in September. Last year it was an online festival only. This year we will have some live events, but it's likely to be a bit of a mixture with some online events as well. I was invited by Danny.
Sounds like everybody was invited by Danny. What fantastic news. Thanks very much, Carl.
Okay.
Stuart, I haven't seen you for a devil of a long time. I've got Stuart Sapford next.
Yeah,
How the
thank
devil are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Although a few things have changed. So I'm the Director of Communities, Culture and Heritage at the Letchworth Heritage Foundation. We're responsible for the Broadway Studio and Galleries, Garden City Collection, International Garden City Exhibition, as well as the museum at One Garden City in Letchworth, as well as a series of community programs and activities, including cultural learning. Obviously, we've been hit quite significantly over the last year in terms of our income, and at the moment we're implementing a new operating model for our arts, culture and heritage services, as well as looking at driving a culture strategy for Letchworth, for the Garden City.
Okay, thanks very much. Now I'm going to do something really dangerous, which is to click on page 2 to see who I've left off from my page 1. So, who can I see? I can see, I'm not introducing councillors, I'm afraid. That might seem very rude, but I just think that it's really important for us to hear from the organisations we've invited. I can see Tom Hardy. Do you want to just introduce yourself, Tom?
Yeah, I'm Tom Hardy, so I'm the Hitchin Town Centre manager, responsible for the Hitchin Business Improvement District, Hitchin BID. And my role is, amongst many things, working with businesses, delivering on events for the town centre. We've got a lot going on that's starting back up at the end of June. Into July and then into Christmas, but predominantly it's yeah, everything town centre.
Okay, thanks very much. And Becca, I haven't seen you there, but
Hey,
I've now
everybody.
seen you. Hello.
Hello. My name is Becca Nicholas. I am the library manager at Hitchin Library. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite. So Hitchin Library is one of many Hertfordshire libraries. Yeah, I would say we've been quite significantly affected by this time. We have actually been offering a service from our buildings since July last year, kind of non-stop. But we have lost about approximately 60% of our active library users in that time. So visits, issues, and yeah, active membership is gone way down. And lots of people probably don't realise this, but the library service is actually quite dependent on generating income as well, in order to kind of maintain the stock that we have. It doesn't all kind of come from the council. So our income generation has been hugely hit with not being able to deliver events and donations for our early years activities, room hire, and that kind of thing as well. So it does feel a little bit doom and gloom at the moment, but there's lots of positivity. We've got events planned for the Hitchin Festival. The Summer Reading Challenge, which is an offer for primary age children, is starting in July, and lots to look forward to in autumn as well. We actually have an artist in residence programme set to be at Hitchin Library. I don't know who, I've not seen the applications. I'm unfortunately, whilst I'll be working very closely with them, I'm not part of the initial shortlisting, but we should have information about who that artist is going to be very soon, who will be working with to put on workshops for people. So yeah, thanks again for having me.
Okay, thanks very much indeed. I've then got Lee Simmons and then Angie Archer. So Lee.
Hello, I'm Lee Simmons, an artist. Danny's kindly invited me along this evening just as an observer, really, and just to offer up any ideas or any thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and Angie?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I hope you can hear me okay, because my connection's not great. Yes, I'm co-director with Christina with Open Art Box. So I'm Stevenage based, but as Christine's already explained, we cover Stevenage and the surrounding areas and north parts as well. I am a visual artist. I'm actually an ex-Digswell art fellow as well. Can you hear me okay? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I just had this muffling sound. Not doing it.
Sorry about that. That's my dog chewing a bone. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was just saying, yeah, I'm also an ex-Digswell fellow. In fact, that's how me and Christina met.
Okay.
And I'm also involved in other community and education partnerships. I'm actually a student as well at University of Hertfordshire. I'm doing my doctorate in fine arts. So lots involved in lots of other things as well. But here, being invited alongside with Christina.
Okay, thanks very much indeed. I hope I've not left anybody off. I should have said that actually this meeting was planned long before the recent council elections and some changes to executive members and portfolios and stuff which is not of enormous interest to people outside the organisation, but it does give me the opportunity to welcome my co-chair of this panel, who is Sam Collins, and I should have done that earlier, Sam, and Sam will definitely be chairing the next meeting of this panel. So welcome to the start of this. I started 2020, in fact, Ruth, who's the deputy executive member for community engagement, she and I and Keith started 2020, all excited about Hertfordshire Year of Culture. Remember that, everybody? And then I don't know what happened, but it kind of fell apart a bit with no excuse whatsoever. And so we started having meetings with people as much as we could from the arts communities. This is the biggest meeting we've had, smaller meetings than this, just so that people could connect with each other and with us about keeping things buoyant, keeping things alive as much as possible in and out of lockdowns, and give mutual support to each other. And that's what I think it's mostly been about. And I think in North Herts we have the most stunning arts community and setup. And it's really important that we do all work together to keep that going. So the rest of the time for this meeting is over to you. It's about what you've been able to do, what you've done remotely, what you've managed to do in collaboration with others as well, what's changed about the way you work, and how you're feeling really about the future. Now, if there are ways that the council can help coordinate some of those partnerships, we are of course happy to do so, or how we can in other ways be of assistance. We need to hear from you. And so really it's over to you for your observations about how it's been, whether this sort of forum is useful. Maybe it's a bit huge, I don't know. Or maybe it wouldn't feel so huge if we were actually in a room together. That's interesting thought as well. So is there anybody who would, I will do my best to keep the conversation going for the next hour or so. but I am going to be a bit dependent on you putting your electronic hand up, if that's possible, to keep the conversation going. Is that all right? And if that is all right, who would like to kick us off? Daniel Allen would like to kick us off. Daniel Allen.
Well, if possible, thank you. I wanted to ask Adam, as people have been spending so much more time at home, how have you been finding your podcasts have gone up? Because I've been doing podcasts for quite a while as well, and I know Councillor Collins has been doing them as well. I wondered how you found your increase or decrease.
It's interesting now, I was talking about this the other day. We actually saw a decrease. And the only thing I can put it down to was people maybe diverting to stuff they already know, things that are more familiar. Obviously, it was a bit of a scary time, especially early on, where it just seemed like it just completely dropped off. And I think that was partly just because people went back to their old favourites. We've started seeing it build up again now. And I think we're about the same level as we were in March of last year-ish. I don't know whether anyone else had a similar response with that, or whether it was just us. Did you find any difference?
No, our numbers stayed pretty much the same.
Okay.
We did also. I mean, early on, we also launched a short film festival just for people to use on their phones, just to keep people engaged in the first lockdown, and that saw some really good results. It was this weird bubble of excitement a little bit during the first lockdown. People just sort of picked things up, started baking bread or picking up their phone and making something. So that saw some good response, and we were quite pleased with that. That was all through the podcast as well.
Okay, thanks very much for that. And I will be coming back to the councillors at the end for any rounding up sort of comments that you want to make, having heard from the organisations. But I've got Rory's hand up next. Well, Rory's got his hand up. I haven't got his hand up.
Please don't have my hand up.
No.
So it's been very difficult because theatre, of course, is a living thing, as many of the performance arts are, and I guess it's the same for music and for singing, particularly. Singing was singled out, wasn't it, as something that you couldn't do. So it's been actually quite interesting to try and bring people back together. And people have been rather tentative, funnily enough, to come back together. So we're rather limiting how many people we have in the theatre at a time. We're allowed to have more young people than we are adults. So we've limited all the plays to 6 in a cast, which we'd love to have a play with 30 in a cast, but we're only having 6. But I think trying to bring people back in is going to be a little bit of a slow process. Interestingly, though, when we put on that first set of plays the week after when we could, so that the week of May the 17th, when theatres could open again, we were packed out. We were sold out insofar as, you know, a spaced out auditorium can be packed out. And so people obviously do want to catch things. And I noticed that many of the smaller London venues have started to open again to bring people along. So I think it takes you have to reassure people that they're going to be absolutely fine, and do it tentatively, perhaps not rush back to it. I work in mental health and with young people, and lots of the schools went, you know, let's all go back to school, and lots of the kids were very ginger about going back all at once, and it took a little bit of time to get people's confidence up that they could go back to school and all would be well. It's not surprising, isn't it? The government have been spent the last year telling us not to mix with anybody and keep away from everyone, so people do absorb that message. So I think we were going to have to get things going fairly slowly and not be too disappointed if initially people don't, you know, come along and put themselves forward. But it's all about participation, isn't it, guys? And if you want a venue for the next meeting, by the way, I'm happy to offer you the Queen Mother Theatre. So I think that's big enough perhaps to get us all in, and you've got enough ventilation if you want to do that.
Actually, Rory, I mean, I think the other interesting thing about people's tentativeness about going back is a mental health issue as much as a fear of illness issue. I have no sense that I'm likely to catch this this virus when I go out and mix with people, but I'm still nervous about being with lots of people, having not been with lots of people. And it's more, for some of us, I think, a social thing rather than a medical fear. And I think we all have to be quite sensitive to that as well, really. Just an observation, really. Sarah, I've got you next.
Yeah, it was good to hear that the Open Arts Box found that some of their evolution, I suppose, as a result of all this, meant that they had different engagement. That was positive. And I wondered if there are any other organisations that felt the same. That's a way that you've evolved meant that you had different types of engagements that you weren't expecting.
Okay, well, shall I bring Sarah Core in, who has her hand up, who might have a view on that as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to say really that our at Digswell, the support network has been a kind of an internal one, because what we found was lots of our fellows really struggled to actually be creative at all, because there was this kind of paralyzed sort of scenario, and there was no flow, there was no sort of sense that you could be free and comfortable to be creative, and that's very gradually coming back now that people so different people had different responses to coming into the studios, and they're kind of self-contained, so they're managed by the group of fellows that occupy those spaces, and it's been a very slow process, and actually the process of people coming back into the studio has had to be managed very, very sensitively, and everybody's had their own experience of this disease. So but I think there's a real positive way forward in that everybody has kind of accepted a level of kindness that is not what we kind of may have forgotten about potentially in our way of being, and that's a really positive way forward. I mean, we're nowhere near there, but as people come back, then I think the community of artists that we are very fortunate to support at the Digswell sites are able to reflect that in their work, and gradually that will support the whole area. Do you know what I mean? So that's been my impression of the group of people. I mean, creativity is a very fragile thing, and it needs to be supported. So yeah.
Okay, thanks very much indeed, Sarah. And I've got Peter next as well. But just before I bring you in, Peter, can I just make an apology to Jim McNally, who I assumed was here as a councillor, but he's actually here as Bulldog Events Forum. So my apologies, and I will certainly, of course, bring him in on that basis. If he wants to say something, that's fine. So Peter, sorry, over to you.
Well, it's been very interesting. We found that with our courses, people are desperate to come back. They're desperate to make music again together, which is really what we do. And so from that perspective, I think it's things are bucking up quite well. From an actual performance point of view, the musicians that we've been able to use have been thrilled to be able to play in the last few weeks to live audience again. A pianist last night was saying, and Hilary was there, how fantastic it was actually to have a live audience. It was a small audience. It has to be, because we have to space everybody very carefully, and that will continue for quite a long time. What we've been able to do, though, is to live stream a great deal, and we've picked up audience quite considerably that way. It's tailing off again. I think people are getting live stream fatigue, musically at any rate. But we have picked up people from all over the world, which, of course, we hope will turn into live participants and residents and so on. And one of the challenges for us has been that whole residential side, and there are a whole other lot of factors alongside the sort of performing arts cultural side. but it's been a challenging year and a bit. But we've found ways to adapt, and online courses is with us, I think, to stay, or at least a blend of online and live stream and live physical presence. So I think that's probably.
I think that's really important, because there are live stream and Zoom issues that some of us in all fields have learnt from, that we don't actually want to let go of entirely for the future, that are of tremendous value in what is going to be the new now. Carl, I've got you next.
Hello, yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I just wanted to pick up the point about the question of whether we're sort of now moving towards some sort of different model for our activities. We, as I mentioned earlier, we had an online festival last year. We normally, in the live festival, we would attract about 5,000 visits. So last year we had a similar amount of visits, so same amount of success, if you like, but did find that it placed a burden on the technical people involved. So it was just, it was disproportionate, really, and I don't think we can sustain that, nor indeed I think we would want to do that. I think, and I'm speaking personally here, really, I think we're keen to move back to the live performance situation. Some things didn't work very well. Well, some things worked better than others. But the one thing that I noticed that didn't work very well last year was we commissioned a number of online concerts from a number of music artists, and they normally are pretty successful, attract a number of attendees to the live events. But online, of course, I'm talking about artists, musicians who have a reasonably high profile locally, but of course they can't compete nationally, really, with other attractions. So I'm guessing that the reason why it wasn't so much of a success in terms of the concerts was simply because people chose to perhaps look at something else on YouTube, for example. So I've got sort of I'm very dubious about whether or not we actually want to transition to a new model at all. I think I'm personally hoping that we're going to go back to live performances, and that gradually our fears about mixing with people will ease.
Okay, thanks very much, Carl. And I've also noticing, although I'm not that good at doing lots of different things at the same time, despite being a woman, but I have noticed that there are lots of really interesting comments being made in the chat function. And I don't know, I'm going to ask Danny, I think, is it possible for us to capture those rather than just lose them?
Yes. Would you like us to make a record of all of that?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind doing that, because there's some extra comments coming out of what's been said in the conversation.
Absolutely.
I've just noticed a particularly interesting one about young people and their lack of fear about being together, which of course entirely is different from what I was suggesting about some of us older people quite scared of being with lots of other people at the minute. Jim McNally, I'm so sorry I ignored your reason for being earlier on, and you've now got your hand up.
That's perfectly okay, Judy. I just wanted to come on and pick up on a couple of things that people have said already. But I think there's been discussion about whether or not we should change the model, and I think that in terms of how we work, and I really do think that. I mean, the Baldock Events Forum is very much a collaborative organisation, and we work with and support any other event provider within Baldock who wants and asks for our support, and we'll support them in any way that we can, as well as having our own events program. And I think perhaps we ought to start thinking or just think about moving towards a more collaborative model in terms of running festivals and mixing arts and crafts with fine art and that sort of thing into as far as our sort of art and engagement with the public is concerned. We've started to do that, and it's proven successful in that what we get is the ability to actually engage and involve a whole new group of people who otherwise might not, for example, want to get involved in fine art, and they see it and they see, oh, this is actually quite cool. It's something, it won't work for everybody, but perhaps we could think about a more collaborative approach, working with other event organisers and suppliers to provide joint ventures.
It's certainly something that the Hitchin groups have been doing over the last year in meeting together from completely different disciplines, really, and I think has been found very productive. I mean, I think of the model of the food provision network that the council has, excuse me, my dog, that the council has been coordinating, but has been very much to do with other organisations coming together with a single mission to provide food across the district. So I'm going to call in Christina and then Adam, but I may go off screen for a moment to go and find out at some point what's the matter with my dog. Do excuse me. That is one of the problems about Zoom. So Christina.
Hi, yeah, I was just going to add something a bit about the collaboration, because we did a project with North Herts Museum. So we'd run these home workshops last year, starting in April. And then we saw the potential of kind of reaching people, engaging people from their homes. And we had planned to run workshops at North Herts Museum. So a way round that was to use their still work in partnership with them, but actually use the format of the boxes and delivering workshops. So we run Doorstep Discoveries, which was an Arts Council funded project that was for 4 months. So it took us over the winter period, and it meant that we could deliver to over 30 participants. We were working with Stevenage Museum as well. So Angie was working with Stevenage Museum and I was working with the North Herts Museum with North Herts residents. And when we were doing an evaluation of the project afterwards, we had we were delighted by how engaged the participants were with the museum from that. So they would have an art workshop that was focused around one artifact each week. Quite often local artifacts that they had things to kind of add to in the discussion. And the feedback we got from them was that they couldn't wait to go to the museum then. These were people that had never been, some had, but some had never visited the museum. Obviously it hadn't been open for very long, but are now very keen to go and see these artifacts that they've learnt about. So it was a good way of kind of getting them engaged in the first place. So it seemed quite a good starting point to kind of take it to them. And then with the view that, we would actually do something within the museum, hopefully later this year. But also we're going to have an exhibition of the work that they made. So they all made a piece of work in response to each artifact as well. So Ros from the museum is, we're working with her to actually have an exhibition of their work in September. So another sort of way of making them feel included into the museum and the history and kind of the local artifacts and things. So we found that collaboration was really successful.
That's brilliant to hear. I mean, I was almost beside myself with pleasure at the museum reopening a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to bring in Adam, but then I'm going to ask Sam. You there, Sam? if you could just watch things for me while I go and remove said dog, and I'll be back in a second.
No problem.
Over to you, Adam. I'm not ignoring you deliberately. I just need to remove the dog.
No problem at all. Yeah, no. On the point of collaboration from Jim and Christina, there, when the pandemic happened, even between lockdowns, one of our problems is we were so used to traveling to other places to use resources for rehearsals, filming, all sorts of things like that. When we realized that travel wasn't really an option, we kind of ran out of places to go. We're probably not as well connected as some people in the tool, but one of the things we really missed was having a space, having even a rentable area just for one or two of us, just to pick up or use as a base for filming or preparation for filming. We also, before it all kicks off, we also struggled finding places just to screen films. We had it all lined up to show our film at the Queen Mother Theatre, but that was a real struggle to do that. And on the point of collaboration, I wonder if there could be a way that we could have a network of rentable spaces that's just really kept up to date and easy to access, to let people come and rent an area or use it for an exhibition or to film in. Would be really nice. And yeah, something like that where people who have no interest in art or culture or anything or engaging, but they're still able to participate in the larger group and the larger network, and also potentially make a bit of rental money as well, and it would help support the businesses on that front. But that something like that would really turn us around. Like I say, we do rely on having a space, and with people not wanting to travel as much, that's quite difficult. So yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Judy's back. Ah, there you go. Well done, Judy. Sorry.
Yes, sorry, it didn't take long. He just got dragged to the conservatory. I'm going to go to James next. Thank you, James.
Thanks, Judy. Thank you for that. Adam, in response to what you've just said, one of the results of being in various meetings over the last year with the council and the festival committee and so forth is the idea to establish a kind of artists network or creatives network, which will meet once a month or so, every so often, for a breakfast or an after work drink session. I'm gathering names, but I think perhaps in light of this discussion, we need to make it a slightly bigger thing, and maybe Danny or someone at the council can help organise this. We haven't been able to meet yet, of course, because of the restrictions, but Ros at North Herts Museum has offered the museum for the first meeting, and it's really just an initial meeting just to say hello to people and get to know who's here and what our requirements are, and just find out what we all do, and more of a social thing in that sense, but sort of combined with the idea of a business breakfast, so we can begin a network. So if someone is looking for a venue or someone's got something coming up where they need another partnership, then this network can sort of hopefully give some kind of link to those discussions. And I guess it will just grow organically. I know, Glenn, you've offered the Market Theatre as well for one of the breakfasts also. So I'd like to think we can put everyone together at some point and just get to know each other and support each other's projects as well, which I think is really the heart of the creative community anyway, but let's make it bigger. So thank you to North Herts for sort of allowing us to meet on Zooms in particular over the last year, because some of these ideas have come from those meetings. So I think it's a valuable thing that we have here, and I'd love to sort of facilitate, with your help, a bigger network and communication between us all.
Sounds absolutely brilliant. And I'm just going to pause before bringing in Glenn and Sasha to welcome Carver Johnson from North Herts Diversity and Culture. And I'm welcoming her because she came in a bit late and therefore didn't have the opportunity earlier to introduce herself. So Carver, do you want a second to introduce, not second, do you want the opportunity to introduce yourself?
A second is just fine, don't worry. I was watching on YouTube because I think I'd received the email from Claire but hadn't sort of responded. Life is getting in the way, unfortunately. But thank you for the invite, and it's really interesting from a perspective of personally, I'm a visualized fine artist, so paint. I've got my own studio and I paint and things. But from the perspective of the diversity and culture group, there was so much that we were planning, as you know, for last year, Black History Month. We've had to defer quite a lot of stuff, but there's been quite a lot of events that have been online. And that has been really interesting. I think that there's an exhibition that we did have up. I can't remember where that is now. I should know, terrible person. But we should. But what we're hoping to do is further. Well, exhibitions, workshops, all sorts. There is sort of like a lot planned, hopefully for this coming Black History Month, and then obviously in the year after, but also looking at the sort of diversity of the group, all different sort of cultural groups. It would be great to sort of like involve the different groups and things like that. There's so much art to be shared within those groups, not just music, but, you know, sort of visual arts and things like that. So yeah, I just thought I'd pop along to see what I could contribute, if anything.
Thanks very much, Carver. And we're really pleased that you're here. And I've now got several hands up, so I'm going to go to Glyn first.
I was really just going to echo what James was talking about with getting people together and getting everyone connected. I know we were talking, I was talking to James a few months ago about connecting up all the different arts off the back of a Hitchin Festival meeting. I mean, the festival's always been about bringing together lots of different groups and the festival promoting all those groups, but I sort of wanted to take that further and actually, you know, having the council organise something like that would be fantastic. I think just as a to kind of bring everyone together. And like James said, I mean, we're happy at the Market Theatre to host something like that, although we don't have a massive venue, as people who've been there might know. So it might be something that we have to look at when the social distancing isn't an issue, perhaps at the Market Theatre. But yeah, we're happy to host something like that in the future.
Okay, before I bring in the next two speakers, the question we need maybe also to be asking ourselves is whether such an arts network can be done on a district-wide basis, and maybe it can be to start with, and maybe it would be massively advantageous to us all to do that to start with, rather than resorting back to our town and village bases. But think about that while we're hearing from the other speakers. So Sasha, I've got you next.
Hello. So I guess the key thing for me is, well, for us as a football club, obviously football and the arts don't necessarily go together. They're not the first two things that you think of that kind of marry up, but actually it's something we're really keen to incorporate, especially with our younger supporters and families, the Junior Canaries as we call them. The first initiative we ran was actually a design a kit template that we made available online, and we ran a little competition, and the take up was good considering it was the first initiative and we hadn't done anything like that before, but it really kind of cemented the idea that we want to incorporate arts and culture and everything that kind of encompasses that into the football club as a way of bringing something a little bit different and a way of engaging with the community. So another initiative we're running at the moment is the Canary Rock Garden, which is open to everybody in the community to design a rock, paint it, colour it in, whatever they want to do with it, and it'll actually be featured in a community garden around Topfield, which is the ground for anybody that isn't aware, and we're just going to have a space that kind of belongs to everybody and gives everybody a chance to leave a message or leave a design. But it's little things like that that we want to keep doing and doing more of. But I guess for us, because it's something new, we really need to build those partnerships and those networks and collaborate with yourselves and other organisations in Hitchin to help us do that, to help us kind of bring football and the arts together in whatever way that comes.
Well, I think you've just proved that there is a very strong connection between what you're doing and what the other groups are doing here. So that's fantastic. Rory, I've got your hand up.
Yes, I was going to say, just to respond to Sasha, I think that sounds fantastically artistic, by the way. And I think just for information, many years of working with young actors has taught me that footballers tend to make really good actors. Why? Because they're really good at working together. And so they often, football and acting, or sports and acting, group sports and acting, I think do go together quite well, because an element of performance in both of them and a same kind of concentration required. So I think there is quite a strong link between those things. I think one of the things that's come out of COVID is bringing us together. We've been in our little silos, perhaps haven't been together so often as we should be, thinking together, working together, perhaps doing some projects together. And I think I hate COVID, I hate Zoom as much as the next person really, but it does bring everybody together in a forum that otherwise they might not come together in. And it would be great for us to meet together, it'd be wonderful. But I can guarantee on the night there'll be people who wouldn't be able to make it or whatever, or will be a bit nervous about being in a room with lots of other people, whereas everybody's happy to come on Zoom. And so that does bring people together. And I think that's one perhaps benefit of the COVID lockdown, that people have been brought together in unusual ways out of sheer necessity, and there's been some benefits to that, I think. The other thing I was thinking of, and I think it's great that artists get together and link together, and out of that might come some collaborative projects and sharing of facilities and resources. But I was wondering whether we could perhaps go a step further and do some projects together. I'm always interested to hear from anybody, whether it's football clubs or whatever, about some joint projects and what we could think about together, doing together, so that there'd be a chance for things to be shared in an unusual way. That's, after all, the art of creativity, to bring things that don't normally live together, and finding something of common ground in that, and something you can do together that would spark the imagination of the public, young and old.
Okay, thanks very much, Rory. I mean, Keith's just made the comment in chat that actually Zoom facilitates a district-wide approach in ways that probably wouldn't happen if we tried to arrange a meeting in Letchworth or Hitchin or Royston. If you had it in Royston, people from Hitchin wouldn't bother with the journey, and vice versa. And that has been one of the huge advantages of this scary and difficult medium, that it has in fact brought people together much more easily. Sasha, I've got your hand up. I don't know if that's a legacy hand.
No, I just wanted to respond to Rory to say we would absolutely be open to sort of collaborating on ideas arts wise. We're kind of incorporating a bit of a wildlife theme. The Hitchin kind of rebranded recently, so the canary's actually found its way back onto the crest and all of the branding after being away for some years. So we've kind of taken that new rebranding and kind of channeled it into everywhere else. And we've just announced a new children's zone, which is called the Aviary. So that's going to be bright, colourful. We're going to have panelled walls for the community to leave their handprints and things like that. But we really want to connect with local artists around that theme to see what can be brought to Topfield and how we can make the ground a bit brighter, a bit more of the community. So everybody kind of has a little bit of a little bit of piece of them incorporated into the ground. So for anybody that has a connection with local artists, or if you're a local artist yourself, absolutely reach out to us, because it's something we're actively looking into.
Okay, thanks very much indeed, Sasha. Val has asked in the chat whether Stuart knows what's happening to the Letchworth Culture Project, and without wanting to put the spotlight on Stuart, who I've lost for the moment. Is Stuart still here? I think maybe Stuart isn't still here, but if he is, can he shout in a minute, and we'll come back to him in a minute. So never mind. Okay, thanks, Val. So is it, before I move on to the next bit of pulling this together, is there anybody from any of the arts groups who are sitting there fuming, desperate to say something, jumping up and down, and they haven't had a chance to have their say? I'm assuming you'd have put your hand up if that was the case. Val?
You're on silent. Got your mic switched off, Val.
Oh, okay. I'm clicking in the wrong place. Thank you. I was just going to say that with regard to collaboration and working together, that there's a lot of that happens in historic, or has happened historically, in the open studios that happens during September. And there's a lot of folk who are a bit unsure about how they're going to have visitors coming into their own sort of studio space, because there's so many things that you need to think about. So we're actively looking for partners who'd be willing to host a small group of artists with art during the open studios. Obviously, it gets a lot of, we do a lot of promotion. We pay for promotion on social media. So it brings benefits to both parties, brings people in who wouldn't perhaps come to your venue. And it might be a useful way of starting a longer term collaboration. So if anybody thinks that that might be useful for them, for their organisation, please get back to me. I know that the Baldock Arts and Heritage Centre already hosts a group of artists for open studios. And there are places in Harpenden and Dacorum in other parts of the county who are doing it, but it seems more difficult to find around North Herts. And I know North Herts is well represented here, so.
Certainly is, yes. And I had Alison with a thumbs up to that. We've got Becca telling us, because I didn't know what the theme was, but the theme of the Summer Reading Challenge is Wild World Heroes, which also, you know, has lots of potential in it for collaborative projects to do, not just with reading, but other arts forms as well. And Sasha's responded to that. Now, what I'm thinking we should probably do is for me to turn to the councillors here who make up the cabinet panel and ask if they've got any reflections on what they've heard and what would be a good way forward. And I've already got Sam Collins and then Tony Hunter.
Thanks, Judy. Just for those who don't know, as we post-election, I've been lucky enough to become the executive member with the responsibility for the arts. So you're all going to be hearing lots more of me. Fortunately for everybody who's interested in the arts, I consider the arts absolutely essential and crucial to everything we do, as does Judy. So there's going to be a lot of support coming from us, from the council. I have to start with a little bit of apology. As you can probably see, I'm sitting in my car at the moment, and my 4G is warning me that there's no battery left in it. So I'm going to have to dip out any moment. It's going to make me dip out, but I'm going to watch the rest on YouTube when I get home. But this has been fascinating. And the input you guys have put in has it's confirmed some things I already thought, and it's made it very clear to me that we as the council do need to work with all of you and everybody else in the community, particularly in terms of getting groups to collaborate together, which is something which I wanted to do anyway, and I think that's really great, particularly with the football club's involvement. I was surprised to see Sasha here, but really happy to hear that, because I'm a big Canaries fan myself, so I'm going to be very much encouraged to see that. Glyn, I've already been in touch with and I'll be talking to, but it's really great to see that you guys think that, you know, the direction that we were already talking about privately is exactly what you want as well. Spaces is a really interesting one. and I've got some specific ideas about that, but I think it's a bit premature to go into it. But I think there's some really exciting stuff that we'll be able to do going forwards. And yeah, just thank you everybody for everything you've put in, because it's really valuable, and we need to keep this going now and make it a regular thing.
Thank you very much, Sam. I've got Tony next.
Thank you, Chairman. This time it is working. Apologies for earlier. Everything froze and I had to come out and go back in again. That is one of the wonders of Zoom and technology. Yes, obviously this is my first meeting, Judy, so I've listened with interest, and I think you've got quite an interesting cross-section of individuals and organisations. And the mention earlier of a network or even a register whereby people can contact each other. I don't know whether that exists at the moment or not, whether it's just emails, telephone numbers, because things have cropped up like venues, collaboration. I just wondered if the council could put something together that could go out to all the individuals that are with us this evening, that they could use as a register to contact other people.
I think we can probably do even better than that, Tony. Thanks very much indeed. Daniel.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just want to thank everyone for coming along and giving your time up this evening. I have been working in the arts sort of for 24 years. I'm a DJ, quizmaster, and do podcasts. And now I'm going to be a wrestling commentator as well. I think that, as you say about putting information to everybody and making sure that we have these lists would be hugely useful, and also to general members of the public who want to book halls for events. So great ideas, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Sarah, I'll take you next.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just a reflection, probably not connected to what's just been said, but I did find I'm a drama and English teacher, and I did find that there were opportunities during COVID that perhaps we hadn't thought about before, that perhaps everybody can continue with, you know. So for example, we did some drama pieces for a local old people's home, which worked very well, which probably wouldn't have done otherwise, because the logistics of moving people around and getting the kids and that sort of thing. And I just hope, you know, so it's quite interesting to hear how the Open Art Project made different connections, that those sorts of things can continue, and maybe we could kind of help each other to learn from those, so you're reaching new people that perhaps you wouldn't reach otherwise. Yeah, just
thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah. Before I come to Ian, Daniel, is that a legacy hand?
No, it's not. There is already a short list of halls and venues available on the website. I will put that on there, northhearts.gov.uk. If you look up halls and community centres, there is a list there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Ruth, I'm just going to ask you if you wanted to contribute at this point.
Not especially, but I have listened with great interest, and I think the thing that I really take away from it is the desire to collaborate. When I started the Hearts Year of Culture 2020 sort of working group in Royston, my main goal was to network people and to get people aware of who else there was in the community doing similar things that they might collaborate with. And I was amazed how many people didn't know about each other. And so it, you know, that's, I think this is a really valuable thing. And a forum in which, you know, we can clearly network people so that they can go away and do projects together. And it won't necessarily involve everybody all of the time. It'll be different projects, but we can't do that if we don't know who else is out there. So I think locally, this is a really fantastic opportunity to do that. So thank you very much. And thanks, Judy, for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you very much, Ruth. And I am now going to turn to Ian Albert, who's muted, although it doesn't say he's muted. No, we can't hear you. No. I think he's going to go out and come back in again, it looked like to me. So we'll just give him 1 second to do that. Lots of stuff going in the chat about putting together a collaborative group to start us off. I suspect, is this going to be a project for Danny? I presume it is. Danny, do you want to comment on what you've heard so far and what you think you're going to do as a result of it?
Absolutely. Yes. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that came tonight. We had such a great response. We also have people that sadly couldn't make it tonight, but definitely want to hear all the minutes that have come up from this meeting. And again, I think it is about collaboration, because myself and Claire have emailed you individually, but you've all pretty much come back with the same thing, saying you'd like to work together and just find out who is kicking around at the moment, which is great, because I know a lot of you do know each other, but I think as we've seen tonight, we've been able to connect the dots, and it's just great to hear everyone coming out of this hibernation, and hopefully we're all going the same way with this. So myself and Claire, we're here to help as much as possible. And I think if we do get some kind of email list together and continue this however you guys want it, because it's all about what you feel is going to be beneficial, we can kind of take it from there. But I think this has been a really solid start and a really positive start as well. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you very much. I think it's been pretty solid too. Claire, did you want to add to that?
Yes, thanks, Judy. I just wanted to say, as I put in the chat, that we've got everyone's contact details, so that can be the start of a distribution list. We'll email everybody and blind copy you all in, and then ask if you want to be part of a distribution list or not. Then we can use that as a sort of networking group to start off with, and then perhaps set up some kind of joint meeting virtually again, because as Judy mentioned, people are coming from right across the district. So, if we had somewhere in person, it might be a long way for some people. And then what we'll do is find out what sort of time is most suitable for people. Do they want it in work hours, or do they want it early mornings or after work, or what suits people? And we can take it from there. But I think the community engagement team can start this off, and then it will once it's going, we can hand it over to the group to continue to run it.
That's right. Thanks very much, Claire. I think that will be very important. This is not going to be owned and run by the council. It's going to be facilitated by the council. I think that's the key point of it, really. And we've got Ian Albert back. I do hope we've got his voice as well.
Can you hear us now?
Yay!
Yay! Okay. There we go. Well, I hope it was worth waiting for, colleagues. No, thanks. I mean, I think it's been a really, really good meeting. I'd make sort of 3 points specifically. I mean, the first one, I think the one I would definitely see the council there, and I'm really sort of echoing some of the points that Sam Collins made, the importance of how I think the council can and should work with local groups, community groups, in this case arts and leisure groups, and I think we can use some of our resources and resources here. I talk about communication resources, how we can help publicise some of the things that you do, help bring groups together like this. And I think there's a value in having something at a district level. But I think we've also found, and I think the meetings, I think we've had some useful meetings in Hitchin, and there may well be a value in having some local meetings as well. I think the second thing was around that, certainly during the pandemic. I mean, as a council, we've been trying to help. And I know as I look around the room here, there's a number of groups here that we have helped through the various government funding that we've received, the pandemic funding with the restrictions grant and the additional restrictions grant funding. And we hope we found that useful. There may be some further tranches of that available, and that's something we can certainly look at in the coming months as to how we might be able to further support groups with money we've got coming from county councils and further potentially restrictions grant money coming from from government, and we'll certainly look to see how we could do that. And we were indeed talking, Keith Hoskins and I were talking sort of today about some further payments that we can make to some local groups. And I think the final thing is, and that really does also echo on what Sam said, I think it's about how we look, also begin to look longer term and being ambitious about the projects that we want to see. I mean, I was very struck at the Hitchin committee about the number of groups looking for community space. We've touched on this earlier on this evening, community space in Hitchin, like Hitchin Band, for instance. And I think what we need to do, obviously, is think about across our district how we can help, where we can look to see what might be done in terms of that. And that's, I think, our longer term ambition with you all, the council, and looking at wider funding, what we might be able to do to improve our community facilities across the district and also make better use of the existing facilities we've got. So thanks for all coming. I think it's some really exciting work that we can take forward.
Thank you very much indeed, Ian. I'm on the verge of thinking that this has been a fantastically interesting and useful discussion. I don't want anybody leaving who doesn't think it's been even slightly interesting or useful. So if anybody has got anything more that they want to say, please feel free to do it now. But in the absence of any further hands up, I'm going to thank you all absolutely massively profusely for giving up your evening to come and have this conversation with us. I absolutely undertake that we will take this work forward with you and not just pop it on a shelf and say, oh, we've done that now, jolly good, because it's far too important, and it's far too important for the spiritual, creative and mental health of all the people that we all represent in our different ways. And so this is just really heartwarming to me, even though it's on my computer screen. And you're all in little tiny boxes on that computer screen. It's still, in an odd sort of way, a truly lovely thing. Isn't that weird? So unless anybody has got anything specific that they want to say, I'm going to suggest that we draw this to a halt now, but the work will go on. Danny and Claire will be taking it forward over the next weeks, and hopefully we will all meet again at some point in the not too distant future, and we'll all meet each other at different sorts of events and venues in any case very soon. So any last words? I don't have to have the last word. Does anybody want to have the last word? No. Okay, let me just click onto page 2 to make sure there's nobody there wishing that they were having the last word. No, everybody's perfectly willing to go and have their glass of rosé or a beer, and in my case I think a blue cheese sandwich. So thank you very much indeed, everybody, and I will check the chat on my way out to make sure I haven't missed anything. Oh, it's all people being pleased, so that's good. And off we go. So thank you very much and good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you.
Thanks, IT support.